Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Janine Davis from Pushing Lovely, and we are here tonight to have a Google Plus Hangout with our own Tazim Damju, who's going to talk with us about virtual assistants and bartering to get things done on our blogs. And since I know nothing about these topics and I have my note paper ready, I'm going to get out of the way and let Tazim take over.
Hi everyone. So had a few questions in the group talking about or wanting to talk about bartering and how to get started in virtual assistants. So I'm going to start first with just saying that this is going to address both bartering and delegation, because delegation is definitely a big part of figuring out what you can barter with someone to get your services and tasks done. So in order to get tasks done, you'll need to know what you want to get someone to do for you, also what you're willing to offer in exchange. So I wanted to start with a little exercise so we can all get some ideas on how to get started. So I asked some of you to bring a piece of paper and a pen. It's just going to take a couple minutes here to come up with our list so we can figure out what we want to offer and what we need help with. You can't get everything done on your own. I know that a lot of you want to maintain control over your all aspects of your business and your blog. So I'm just going to use business and blog interchangeably. If I use one or the other, that's talking about basically the same thing. So what tasks should you delegate and what services can you offer? So I want you to come up with just a short list or a long list, but basically get one started right now if you can, if you have a piece of paper and pen. What are some tasks that you regularly do for your blog or business? So some examples that I came up with, create pinnable images. So for each blog post that I write, I need to use PicMonkey or anything basically that you use for creating a pinnable image. Creating a video if you do a vlog, or if you just have a short video at the top of your post or within your post. Contact PR companies and sponsors, and share posts on social media. Those are just a couple of things that I regularly do for my blog. Feel free to add other examples that you have in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and give us some more examples, just to have more things to add to our own lists so we can get some more ideas. But another quick list I want you to put together, either now or in the near future, is what are some things that you would like to do or like to have done for your blog or business. So a lot of ideas are shared in our group, things like we did a vlog challenge. Maybe you decided that you want to regularly do vlogs in the future. Maybe you want to be better with pinnable images. I know Janine's been sharing some examples that she's come up with for her blog, and some different links for places that you can go, like just to use PicMonkey for an example of easy ways that you can create pinnable images. Other ideas, maybe you decided that you want to have a newsletter. So one thing would be to add to the list is a schedule maybe that you need to create a newsletter, send it out on a certain date. You want to maybe put a video in there. You want to create some images to put in there, whatever to do with your newsletter. Another example I came up with is a new header. So if I want to change out the look of my blog, maybe have a totally different theme, maybe a new header is part of that. Maybe I need some social media help. Yeah, different examples like that. Again, if you have others, feel free to share them in the chat or just share them with us here. Okay, so now you've got those two lists. or hopefully we'll work on that a little bit later today. So from those lists, we can figure out what we want to delegate and also what we most enjoy doing, knowing that we do these tasks regularly for our blog. There's probably a reason why we do them. One is definitely that they need to get done, sure, but maybe there's tasks that we really enjoy. So the third thing that I want you to do is highlight or circle, whichever you prefer, the tasks from list number 1 that you really enjoy doing. Things that you especially want to have for your blog and you want to keep doing those. And then maybe put an asterisk or circle, whatever works for you, tasks from both of those lists that you prefer not to do. And those are things that you can decide that you might want to delegate, or you might want to delegate in terms of hiring someone or delegate with bartering. Got a question, what was the title of each list? I guess what title I put on them is, the first list is tasks you regularly do for your blog or business. And you can title that on your sheet of paper. The second list is things that you would like to do, like ideas that you've had from our Pushing Lovely group or elsewhere, or things that you would like to have done. So you know right away that those are things that you want on your blog or your business, but you know you don't know how to do them yet or don't want to do them. I don't know if that helps. All right, so I've just jotted down here a couple of things to keep in mind. Talking about delegation and bartering and services generally we're talking about today. One is hire out what you can't do. So a lot of the things maybe that you've put your asterisk or circled, especially from list 2, because list 1 you're doing them, you know how to do them, I'm assuming. So these are things that you can't do, you have no interest, or you don't have any capability to do them. That could be maybe you would like to have videos on your blog. You know how to create simple vlogs. We did a challenge a few months ago, I think. But you want to maybe take them to the next level. You don't know how to do editing. You're not sure exactly how to do a pinnable image. There's lots of examples there. Number 2 thing to keep in mind is simple tasks. So these can be things from your list number 1, which I called tasks you regularly do for your blog or business. Things that you do all the time that are smaller tasks. Like, say, an example could be every day you post to blog her, syndication kind of posts, or you post to all your different social media networks. Things like that. Things that are taking away from the bigger tasks and the tasks that are maybe money-making ventures, or writing content for your blog, creating new products, things that will be better in the long term, that will take up more of your time, and you would not want to delegate those things. Like you can definitely delegate writing for your blog, guest posts, sponsored content, that kind of thing, but those are things that you'd prefer to focus on. So by taking those smaller tasks that you know someone is capable of doing, such as social media posting, that will give you a lot more time for what you'd like to focus on more. So another thing to keep in mind is this could be maybe from list number 2, which is things that you'd like to do or have done. Sometimes it's good or fun to try out something new, just to see if it is actually a good fit for your blog or business. Like our vlog challenge, maybe you tried that out and did that regularly. You decided that's not really for me. I don't really want to pursue this any further. It wouldn't really make sense to decide that you want to do that and then hire it out right away if it's not something that you find valuable for your business or blog. Another thing could be editing services, social media, example for all of them. But yeah, so before you want to commit to paying for services, you might want to try something out and figure out if it's for you. Say Pinterest, you've heard great things about Pinterest, you get lots of traffic, people say, but you don't want to hire someone to completely do your Pinterest boards and populate them with your posts and things, and if you haven't tried it out and you're not sure how well it would work for you specifically. That's another thing to keep in mind there. So I just wanted to open it up to questions, or if people had any examples about that before I move on to the bargaining or the bartering section. So if you wanted to unmute yourself and share some examples of that, or if you had any questions. Nope, looks okay. All right. Pamela says in the chat here, with delegating tasks, make sure those tasks are not money-making tasks. Do you mean, what specifically did you have in mind with that one? I'm not sure what specific money-making tasks. A sales task. Yeah, that's a good example for sure. Right, yes. Joyce is saying that make sure it's administrative, not revenue generating. Exactly, yeah. That's definitely true. That's what I was kind of saying with the simple tasks, things that will kind of take you away from those money-making ventures, new products you want to put out, like our ebook challenge that we're working on, and it should be finished up in the next couple days. Things like that you want to focus on instead of things that are just kind of smaller tasks that are an aside from your money-making ventures. Yeah, Joyce is saying you can have someone write a sales page or review your sales copy. Yeah, that's a small task related to your larger money-making one. So that's a good idea for sure. Things like that can help you along, that will take up more of your time away from the larger tasks. All right, so now you've got those lists going, or you will shortly, and you have some idea, hopefully, of things that you want help with, things that you really enjoy doing, and now you want to get on with bartering and get those services done by someone else. So how do you get started? I'm just going to give you one example of one way that has worked for me. And then at the end, I'd love to hear from you if any of you have done any bartering. Just have a question here first from Joyce. Tell us exactly what you do administratively. As in my personal services, do you mean? Okay, I'm actually going to be talking about virtual assistants and services and consultations a little bit later after this section. So I'll definitely get back to that. So in terms of bartering, which is what a lot of you had questions about in the group, So one thing to keep in mind is offering something of value that you think someone can benefit from. So instead of just trying to say, well, I need help with this, so I'm going to ask for help right away, and that's my number one focus. Offer something, give someone some help on something before you ask for something in exchange. So one example is, personal example, is coaching services in exchange for creative trade. So I'm working with a life and business coach, and she knew that I wanted her services, but I wasn't able to necessarily pay out of pocket for them. So she had this service that she had that I wanted. She offered it to me, and we discussed what she needed help with, and we decided on a trade for social media help. So that worked really well because it was something that benefited her, that she was feeling guilty about not focusing her attention on promoting her business, that kind of thing. And then, of course, it helped me because I had wanted her coaching services. So that's one way where a barter really helped by giving something of value for both of us. So we both benefited that way. And it didn't cost either of us any money. We both felt like we had a good amount of value from it. It wasn't just me offering her something that she didn't actually want, which is something that you should keep in mind in terms of bartering. Maybe somebody wants something from you, but make sure that you're getting a fair exchange back. And a second thing to kind of keep in mind is long-term benefits. So an example there would be a small service in exchange for a testimonial. An example from myself again is that I am just starting up my virtual assistant business. It's only been a few months now. I do have some clients and have testimonials from them, but I'm always looking for more for marketing purposes, future benefits. I can use them in my products, different things like that. So I could offer a small service, say social media promotion for a week or something in exchange for a sentence or two testimonial. That would be a good barter for me. The other customer could see my services, see if they want to continue, or just take a week off from social media from them. I'm sure that would help a lot of small businesses or vloggers. All right, so I just want to know if any of you have had any experience bartering and what sort of things you had questions about regarding that. So feel free to unmute yourself. Looks like Pam has a question.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I started out blogging, and I got turned on to bartering. I started out as a mommy blogger. I have a completely different blog than the one that you all know me from. And a man contacted me. He's Hungarian, living outside of London, and he needed help with his English. And I've worked translation services before, and I've been editing and whatever for 25 years. So we bartered, and in exchange for his excellent website design skills, I would clean up his copy. And even though he was outside of London, he spoke with stilted English because he thought in Hungarian, and he translated it into English, and he knew that American English was the English of the blogs. So in exchange for the design, web design, I did his web copy. And then that led to, just like you said, testimonials. I would put my testimonials on his blog, and then he would put testimonials on my LinkedIn. And then we liked working together so much that we started I became a partner in his business. but it didn't last as long as we would have liked, but we still have good, what's the word, feelings toward each other, you know? And it helps that he has kind of like an American friend, if you will. And I don't think I would have gotten as far as I have if I hadn't started out bartering, because it gave me a little bit of boost of confidence.
Definitely, yeah, that sounds like a generally positive experience for sure. I know a lot of us in the group do help each other out, and it's not sort of a formal bartering arrangement. But I've had, some experience in the past where you want, say, a header or something, and you want to exchange it for something else. You can either ask for a specific thing in exchange, or see how you can help each other out like you did. Yeah, so good.
I
Thanks
have
for
a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. So my question is, when it comes to hiring a VA, how do you give them access, like, to your blog, or do you give them your regular password for your blog and your email and all that kind of stuff? Like, how does that work? Because, like, right now, if I need something, I might have Janine or Aurelis help me out, and they just have all my passwords. So, another person, I might not feel comfortable with giving them that access.
Yeah, it's a good question. Definitely there is some level of trust you need to kind of instill on your virtual assistant or whoever's helping you out. There's not really much other way around it other than giving them your passwords. For me, I sometimes have somebody help me out with one of my 2 Twitter accounts, and I have a specific password that I use during that period only, and then I switch it back once I'm no longer needing their help with that. That's not always as easy with a blog or something, but with your blog you can create a new username, so you can give Janine or Aurelis or whoever their own kind of account, and then change their settings later on when you're done having them help you. With Facebook, for instance, you can have somebody added on as your content creator, and then you have access to change their administrative purposes or administrative privileges later. Yeah, Pamela's saying, yeah, for WordPress you can. That's true. I hadn't thought about it for Blogger. I'm not sure if anyone's on Blogger. But yeah, for WordPress you can have another person added on with whatever administrative privileges you'd like. Yeah, and give them another password. So they'll only have access as long as you allow them to have access. For other things like Twitter, there's not really a way to do that. But I guess you can just change the password after. Google Plus is another one that I do that a lot for my clients, but you need, if it's their Google Plus profile, you do need their Google password, which is kind of huge. So there's definitely some level of trust there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did anyone have any questions related to that at all? Or anything else similar?
Nobody else has bartered?
Hey, it's Joyce. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have bartered, and I would say another tip that I like to do is to still bill the person, and you can zero it out.
Mm-hmm.
So they at least know the value of what you did, and you know the value of what you did for them. So you're on the same page, and it still gives you an idea of, not necessarily how much money you made, but what your skills are worth. So that if they ever pass your name along, they can say, yes, Tazim did this project for me and it was $500. Not like And yeah, Sarah, that is a good thing for tax purposes too. I bartered with my son's preschool and co-working space for about a year, and I was able to, help them with promotions, and then I didn't have to pay tuition, and I just invoiced her for the amount and then zeroed it out. Just made a discount for each project, so people know what you're worth. You know what you're worth, and like Janine and Sarah have mentioned, it's still taxable.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I hadn't thought of that myself, but that's a really good idea, especially to see also to where your time is going, if you're tracking that for your business.
Yeah, and I have another question, Tazim. I mean, since you work on multiple projects and I'm starting to do more multiple projects, how do you track your time? Like, because with Facebook and all this other crap, you can get so distracted. So it's hard to say. And like, I can say I'm going to start on something, and then my child walks in the room, and it's a wrap. So do you track like your minute by minute and hour by hour and all that stuff that you do for people? I'll just listen. I'm going to mute myself now.
Well, part of the answer is not very well. Because I am working on so many things, it's easy to kind of jump around, like social media, scheduling, and that kind of thing. I do tend to do kind of in a block where I say, well, I have an hour. I will make sure everyone's profiles and everything are updated for the next day or two. So that's one way that I kind of track that time, is only give myself a set amount of time. One thing that I've started using is, I don't know if anyone's heard of or uses the Pomodoro technique, and it's 25 minutes that you block off, so each kind of thing is 25-minute chunks, or you can give yourself two. So you, say if you do one block would be 25 minutes, and then you have 5 minutes to go on Facebook or check your email or whatever you need to do, but those 25 minutes you only devote to that one task, and you can kind of mark yourself down with ticks or something if you try and get off task, if you think about other things. But it's worked so far for me pretty well in terms of staying on task. In terms of tracking time, I use FreshBooks. And you can just, it's, I think, free for up to 3 clients, or if you don't have any clients that you want to put in there, it's free to use and try. Yes, Pam listed the link there for the Pomodoro technique. It's basically, if you just set a timer for 25 minutes, that works on your phone or tablet or something. Maybe not something as annoying as a kitchen timer, but whatever works for you for tracking that, staying on task that way. But yeah, I use FreshBooks for my clients so that they know how much time I'm taking for my hourly clients. And I use that in conjunction with the Pomodoro technique to make sure that I'm only focusing on that one task, because I'm billing the client. So I kind of have to do that.
Okay, this is Janine. One thing that I do in my law practice, I always, to make things easier, I can't bill people out at per minute because that's going to get on my nerves. So I would tell my clients in advance that all the work I'm doing for you, I'm billing you out in 15-minute increments. So if it's 7 minutes, I'm charging you for 15. And that if it's 16 minutes, I'm charging you for 30. And that makes the bookkeeping easier for me. And if I told my clients that in the beginning, they would know what to expect from me as far as billing is concerned. With keeping track of your time, particularly if it's hourly work, it's really important to get a system that you're going to stick to and that you can easily keep track of the hours and the time that you spend. Otherwise, it's ridiculous how much time you spend on things that you think this is a 15-minute task, but it actually ends up taking 30 minutes or 40 minutes because once you get into it, all kinds of other things pop up. And so as far as tracking your time, I wouldn't suggest doing it in minute-by-minute intervals for hourly clients. some attorneys do it in 6-minute intervals, some do it in 15 minutes like I did. So you just have to pick a system that works, and if you communicate that system to your client in advance, it saves you both lots of aggravation.
Oh, because I was muted. I thank you for that. I haven't been billing in 15-minute increments or anything like that yet. I only have a certain amount of clients that are hourly. Mostly it's retainer for certain, like a monthly kind of thing or certain tasks. But going forward, I definitely keep that in mind. So thank you for that. Did anyone have any other questions or things they wanted to add to that before I move on?
This is Pam. I have another question. When I was bartering with this fella, and he had a project management system that I would log into that I found extremely cumbersome, but he liked it because then I could go in and see what my tasks were and click on them and click in and click out. Is there anything that's out there that's similar, that's less cumbersome, that maybe is free or a lot cheaper than any of those project management things? I'm going to mute myself.
I just shared a link in the chat. I don't know if, hopefully this is I read you correctly and that's what you're looking for. Asana is a free site that you can have people give you tasks, and you can upload files, pictures, put links in there, have due dates. So I don't know if you want to check that out, see if that's what you're kind of asking about. But that one's free, and I like that. One that I use with a client is Sprout Social, which is, I think, pretty pricey, but I'm not paying for it, so that's okay. But it's another one where it's all social media networks. It works really well for tasking. You can have different accounts and things. So if I decided to pay for it, I could manage several of my clients on there. Hootsuite works similarly. It's I mean, I love Hootsuite. It works pretty well for the most part. Sprout Social, I feel, is even better in terms of tracking and seeing all of your social media feeds and everything in one place, a little bit better. But I think it's about $40 a month, so a bit out of my price range. Is that helpful at all, Pam? Maybe you can check it out later and see if that's...
Ooh, sorry, I was muted. I was talking to myself. Yeah, I'm looking at Asana, and that might be, yeah, just a lot more easier. It looks like it's basically just like sharing your tasks, just like you have on your phone, and has that little doohickey where you just put tasks down a reminder. It looks like, at first blush, that it might be like that, which looks extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get emails letting you know when it's close to the due date. You get them when a new task is added. So that might be something that if Brandy or someone else is looking to hire a VA or have some help with something, that might be a good way. Instead of emailing back and forth, everything's all in one spot. Like I said, you can upload files and pictures. And I use that a lot in conjunction with Dropbox to make sure myself and my clients are all looking at the same thing. Patricia's asking if, I think she means me specifically, if I'm doing any metrics for clients. So do you mean like, say, looking at social media sites in Google Plus or Google Analytics and things now, and then checking back in to see how well that's done? Evaluating campaigns. Yeah, and in Google Analytics you can create campaigns. So you can focus on one specific task and see how well that's doing. A lot of it's sort of trial and error. So that's one good thing to do with Google Analytics, is to see if what you're trying out, how successful that is, if that's working for you. But also with like Facebook Insights, you can check that regularly. Twitter's got their own, Pinterest has their own. So yeah, I do that sometimes with my clients if they want that service. All right, so speaking of services and virtual assistant, some people in the group had some questions about how to get started with that, and if that's one way that they can, well, obviously make some money, and another way that you can barter for something else that you need help with. So I've got a couple notes here. One thing to look at is the list that I asked you to all make earlier. So things that you highlighted that you especially enjoy doing. For me, I've probably mentioned it 100 times, but social media, that is something that I like doing because I can surf and look online for different articles and things that are valuable, things that I'm finding for clients for other purposes. I can, while I'm looking, I can schedule those for someone else, for myself. That works well for me. So looking at those tasks that you especially like to do is one way to get started figuring out what you want to offer. But also, what are people's pain points or tasks that they don't want to do or don't know how to do? So maybe if other people want to share their lists once they have them in the group, you can get some idea of at least our group's pain points or things that they don't want to do that you might enjoy doing or have a lot of experience with. I know we share a lot in these Hangouts, things that we know a lot about, so what's another way that you can share that information, maybe to make some money or to trade? And then figuring out what people are willing to spend. So that's something that's kind of a huge issue in the virtual assistant kind of community, as well as bloggers and businesses generally. How much do you charge? So one way that we can maybe help each other out is to say, maybe have a focus group and say, well, I was thinking of this service. How much would you pay for this? How much value does this add? That's another thing to keep in mind is not necessarily, well, this is going to take me an hour, and, well, this hour I can make $20. It's better than this this $10 an hour job that I could have instead. Well, no, but how much value are you adding to that person that you're helping out? Not necessarily how much do I want to charge for this 1 hour. And then one thing to keep in mind is that you're not an employee either, so you've got to make sure you have your office supplies, your computer, everything that you're paying for that helps support your business and your services that you're providing. You've got to pay for your healthcare, all those other things. So just keep that in mind when trying to come up with how much you should charge. Another thing related to that is it's a lot easier to offer discounts later for several hours purchased at a time, or a retainer, or long-term clients, that kind of thing, rather than having your initial price be way too low. It's much more difficult to raise that later. Yeah, so those are just a few things to kind of keep in mind. But in terms of how I got started, I think a couple of people anyway were wondering how I did and how that might translate to how they can get started. I actually just started a few months ago, really. I put a posting on my main blog, my beingtazim.com blog, with a link to my tazimdamju.com site, and just made that in the menu on my blog saying that I had virtual assistant services. So that's the first thing, is to, after you figure out what service you want to provide, of course, is make people aware. Let people know that you are offering services, what they are, and how to reach you. So make it easy for people to contact you. I set up my own website that is a kind of a profile portfolio, sorry, and also has my services listed. So you can either do that. It's pretty easy to set up a website. I'm sure you've all done it at some point already with your blogs, or just have a separate page on your blog if you want to just kind of get your feet wet and just get started right away. That's a really easy thing you can do tonight even. Just have your services listed. You can either list your rates or have a contact form so people can contact you easily to find out more. There's a lot of ways that you can go about doing that, and I can help you more if you have specific questions about that part. But how I got started was I met my first client in one of those blog hops where you all have a challenge, I guess, and you work on your blog for a month. And we were all following each other, and she just saw my page on my link in my menu that said I had services, and so she contacted me and asked more. And that worked out really well because she signed up for a long-term contract for a few months, and I'm still working with her. But that's kind of a fluke, really, but that worked out pretty well. And then other people have contacted me through just people I knew in my network and things like that. So definitely, as I said, just make people aware that you have services and you are looking to get into being a virtual assistant, whatever that means for you in terms of specific services you want to offer. Yeah. So if anyone has any questions about that, you can unmute yourself and ask, or if you want to ask in the chat. But starting out and being a virtual assistant.
Tazim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
It kind of seems like, is virtual assisting something that you can do if you have a regular 9 to 5? Like, are you able to do this at night or overnight or something like that? Or is it something where people need you during the day?
No, I hope not, because I'm on the West Coast and a lot of my clients are overseas or on the East Coast. But no, it seems to work out okay. Most of mine are local and on the West Coast. But anyway, yes, you can definitely do it in the evening or on the weekend. I kind of fit it in between my blogging business and So, I mean, I would encourage you to even just get started and have a page on your blog. Just make people aware that that is something, excuse me, that you can offer. And in terms of doing that while you have a full-time job, you can offer it as, say you want to do, you could do an email consultation. I've done that before, where people are too busy to get online. You can do, Skype is pretty much free. You can do Google Plus Hangout. There's all kinds of ways that you can fit that into your schedule. And make sure you're tracking your time for that. You know, you say you want an hour consultation, keep track of that and keep it within an hour so that you are getting value from that, and they're getting a condensed value. I mean, you don't need to make it too long to make it valuable. Oh, just seeing the comments here. Joyce is saying someone needs to update their blog post for SEO after a consult with Brandy. He refers them to Tazim and or Pamela for those updates. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Sorry.
I also wanted to share something that I've been seeing a lot of, is people writing blog posts for other bloggers. So that's like something that you could do part-time, like on your off time, or if you create those blog posts and then offer it to people and say, hey, I have a 300-word post on Halloween candy, add your own picture, or something like that. Or it's even better if you could do pictures, but creating content is another form of assisting that I've just noticed not too long ago.
Absolutely, yeah. There's actually a few Facebook groups where it's all about selling those the content that you're creating, either pictures or roundups or, like you said, 300-word posts kind of thing. I find a lot of them are undervaluing their content, but yeah, you can definitely do that. But I think you all know, how much value you should put on what you're writing and putting out there anyway. But yeah, definitely you can create those posts, especially if there's something you have an idea for something that maybe doesn't fit well for your own blog, and that someone else might be willing to pay for that. Yeah, definitely, that would be a great service, and you can specialize in that. Yeah, Pamela's saying definitely specialize. So pick things from your list that you've highlighted, things you really like to do, maybe things that people are really wanting to spend money on, and just focus on those. Don't kind of be a Jack or Jill of all trades and say that you're going to do everything. That just really well, it really thins out, I mean, the amount of time you're able to spend on certain things, because each time you switch tasks, I'm sure you all know, you kind of lose time and lose your focus on them. So, and you want to be known for doing certain things and having certain specialties. So if someone wants to refer someone to you, they know exactly how they should do that. Well, you're really great at conferences and public speaking, that kind of thing. Did anyone have any other specific questions about kind of how to get started, like a VA business or consulting or anything like that? Maybe you have some ideas of services that you'd like to provide, either for sale or bartering.
Hi, this is Pam. Once again, I'm clogging the airways. One of the real ways that I felt that I could benefit was I listed my services on Craigslist. and I have a real affinity for, and you probably too, Tazim, for people who are non-native speakers. And I found the best way for me to gain um, testimonials on LinkedIn, but also to boost my self-esteem a bit, was to offer some of my services for free on Craigslist. I helped a woman write her PhD dissertation. We had a contract, filled it out. All the information in the dissertation was hers. Not that I understood any of it anyway. But she just couldn't afford the help, the fee. And she had gotten help from so many different people that you could tell it was bits and pieces of the way this person spoke and the way this person spoke. So I smoothed it all up and got her the 30, 40, 50-page product, whatever it was. It was so long ago. And then she wrote me a beautiful testimonial on LinkedIn, and it boosted my self-esteem as well. So while that wasn't necessarily bartering, it was certainly a good thing to do for the both of us. She finished her dissertation. She passed my name along to other people. That led to testimonials, and here I am today, the self-assured woman that you see.
No, I think that is a good idea. I mean, like I was saying earlier, testimonials are really valuable either on LinkedIn or, if they let you put on LinkedIn, then you can put that in your marketing when even for your ebook, if it's related at all to the subject. There's so many ways that you can use that, so that is it is a barter in a way. Because you got something that was valuable to you, and you felt good about offering the service that you had and your knowledge. So, yeah, I think that's a good example.
Yeah, I guess what it showed me was, because I was thinking of starting out as a VA, I wasn't sure if the skills that I had were of any value. But then as I was working with her, and I thought about it, I said, I have been doing this for 25 years. Whether it's at certain jobs, I've always had the side job of writing the job newsletter, editing this, and I've always helped people write their papers. And then I said, oh, you know what, this is a valuable skill. While I might not be an editor at the New York Times, it was still a valuable skill. So I guess that's what I mean when I say a confidence booster.
Yeah, absolutely. With my example of me doing the social media for the coach that I work with, she's always telling people that I do her social media and how great it is. And I mean, even though I'm not getting specifically clients from that, it's, yeah, like you said, a good confidence booster to know that you're doing a good job. I think that Amira, who isn't here, had some questions about how to get started with being a virtual assistant. I don't know if anyone else had any kind of specific questions with that, or things that you might need in terms of programs or applications or anything. Anything you want to ask about? Did anyone get started on any of their lists of tasks that they don't like to do or things they really like to do?
Yeah, for me, even though it seems simple to create the tweets, to create good tweets and schedule them, like it's an easy task, but it's just one that I just don't have the mental capacity to do most days. Actually, not since maybe January, but that's definitely something that I would think about having somebody do, but I would have to sit down and really consider what I would want my return to be if I were to, go ahead and pay that.
write 10 tweets, they better not be like janky tweets. That would like concern me too. Like, what if they suck? But I've gotten stuff that sucks on Fiverr as well. So, and you just are like, oh well, this is Fiverr.